This is Love, Lies, and Dead Roses, and I'm your host, Candice Christine. And my guest today is my cousin that grew up more like a sister to me, Miss Kristina Queen. You'll always be Kristina Queen to me. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Tina and I, we grew up very close. Mainly for the fact of my cousin, her sister, sweet Katie. Growing up, Katie was, how do you explain it, Tina? She couldn't run and play with the other kids, you know.
Yeah, because she couldn't do a whole lot. She couldn't really jump. She um couldn't really ride bicycles. Couldn't really do anything but walk. And even then, she would get tired and need a wheelchair. So yeah.
And I mean, you're one person who can always say, like, or who can vouch for how empathetic of a person I've always been.
Mm-hmm.
I've always rooted for the underdog, and I remember hating to see her have to hang back while all the other kids would go out, and that's just where Katie and I became so close.
Yeah.
We were, when you saw one, you saw the other. We
Oh
sat,
yeah. Oh yeah.
ate
But
everything.
she liked hanging back though a little bit too. Because it gave her the time to just joke around and do
And
all her nonsense.
we'd walk over to Rainey's house and sit on the swing. Do you remember that?
I don't remember Rainy.
Next door
At the beach or
at the
where?
beach. At the beach, Mama and Papa's.
Like across the street?
No, right next door. He had that
Okay.
swing, the green swing out front.
I'm trying to remember. That was so long ago.
I know.
It was a
It's
long
been.
time ago.
I can't believe I'm 34.
You're still a baby. I'll
You're
be
not that much.
42.
Oh,
42, girl.
we got some good jeans, girl. Them queen jeans do us some good.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, I went makeupless today. This is a rare occasion. I don't ever go makeupless.
Look, I put a little bit on because I normally don't wear it. I like my sleep too much, so.
So with Katie, she and I, we became so close so quick. And they're like the family pictures, you always saw us together. Power Rangers was our thing, man. That was our thing. I remember being in y'all's house in Gastonia. It was a yellow house, right? In that back bedroom,
Yeah.
you went through Angela's room to get you to yours and Katie's room.
Yep.
Being back there playing with the Power Ranger figurines, and you had a drum set, right?
I did.
I got a good memory. Isn't it crazy how
you
good
do? Because I don't think many people knew I had a drum set. So that's pretty good.
You know what's crazy? I still remember the smell of y'all's house during that time. Your mama making cakes.
She did all the time. That took up her whole weekend. Every weekend.
Literally. Katie she was an angel on earth.
Oh, yeah.
She really was. I think she's the reason why I am the way I am with people.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one who taught me sympathy, empathy, compassion. And I'll never forget, I've never had this conversation with you. I don't think. I'll never forget the day she died. Are you okay talking about that? Are you okay if I cry?
Go for it. Well, if you cry, I might cry, and I don't like to cry, so suck it up.
Because I've never really talked. The only person who knows about this is Mama.
Yeah.
And I remember on the 13th, I heard Mama talking to Pawpaw, and Pawpaw was calling her to tell her about what had happened.
Yeah.
And kind of like fill her in and what the next day was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I never knew. I just knew Katie was in a hospital. I didn't know at all. And I actually had a dream that night. Little 11-year-old me had a dream that Katie was telling me it's going to be okay. That she's gonna feel better. And I've never. Oh, the only person who knew. Wow. And I came downstairs crying, and I told Mama, I said, Mama, I don't want my best friend to die.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was heartbroken.
Oh,
before Katie, I had never experienced death.
Yeah.
Katie was my first death. She was my very first best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm older, I can't imagine what you guys were going through?
Yeah.
Because you were there, weren't you, at the movies?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When it all started, I was there from like the beginning on, like everything, the accident, everything. I was there. It was Dad and I. So,
Do
yeah,
you
it
want
was,
to, do you want to explain what happened to Katie?
yeah. So she was already in the hospital because because when we lived in Thomasville, we had just moved to Winston-Salem. And she woke up one morning complaining about her stomach. And her stomach was like really, really tight and hard, like almost like a rock in her stomach. And we took her to the hospital. She had an ulcer, and she ended up having surgery on her stomach. And she was in there for months. And still to this day, when I've told people about it, they're like shocked that this even happened. And Dad and I brought it up just the other weekend, but they pretty much let Katie go, leave the hospital, go see a movie while she was still admitted into the hospital, but they let her go see a
That's,
movie because it's insane. Like you don't hear that. And it's like, I don't know what led them to do that. I have no clue, but they let her go see the movies, and it was Snow Dogs when it was in the theater.
I've never watched that
And
movie.
I haven't either. So it was Dad and I. We took her. And it's funny because when Dad and I were talking about it the other night, we have two different regulations of one part of what had happened, and it was just us two there. But we get to the movie theater in Winston-Salem, and what I remember is, and I don't know why it happened the way that it did, but we got out. We got Katie out. We had her in the front of the van, and Dad's like, okay, stay right here. And I wasn't that far from her, but he says, just stay right here. If you feel like you're going to fall, hold on to the van. And he was going to go get the wheelchair out of the van.
I thought that y'all were at the candy counter.
No, this was all outside in the parking lot. We didn't even make it into the movie theater.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I remember him saying, hold on to the van if you feel like you're going to fall. And he was going to get the wheelchair out. He doesn't remember ever getting a wheelchair out. He doesn't even remember them giving us a wheelchair. So,
But also,
but
it could be that trauma too.
it
Like,
could be.
you black out memories. There's certain memories that I black out on purpose because I don't want to
Yeah.
remember it.
Right. Yeah. And that's probably, I mean, like you said, it's probably part of it. But all I remember is him telling her to hold on to the van if she feels like she's going to fall. And I was only a few steps away from her. And I just remember her like swinging her arms back, going, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And she just fell back. And normally when people fall, they'll like hit their bottom normally and like boom, boom.
But she didn't
She
have
just
that
went,
upper body strength.
yeah, she just fell straight back and hit her head. And so, we went and picked her up. We were trying to talk to her. She was non-responsive. She was like out. And we were going to call 911, but we figured we would get to the hospital faster if we just drove there.
Yeah.
And so we put her in the van. I'm sitting in the back, and I'm sitting in the front row, and I'm holding Katie, and I'm talking to her like, hey, Katie, can you say something? Can it's okay. I was trying to comfort her, but she was like, I swear to this day, she was dead right there in my arms. Like 100%. I swear, I think she was dead. And Dad's driving. He's honking horns. He's got the emergency lights on. He's flying down the road. We get to the hospital, and we didn't call the hospital, nothing. But it was like there were nurses right there at that door when we pulled up. Nurses were right there, and they took her in, and she ended up having emergency brain surgery. And they said she had a subdural hematoma, which is like the bleeding of the brain. And that was from the trauma from falling and hitting her head. And so she had the brain surgery, and everything was going good. Everything was fine. they would have us kind of the little like oils, different types of oils with different scents. They would have us run it over her, around her nose, and they were noticing brain activity with certain of the smells. And a couple days of that, and then all of a sudden, that's when it just went downhill. And there was no brain activity. There was nothing when we would try things. And that's when they were basically like, hey, y'all might need to have a family meeting and kind of talk about your next options, because she's basically a vegetable. And they didn't see anything positive coming out of it after that. So that's when they decided to go ahead and pull the plug, and they chose Valentine's Day.
There was a picture. You and I have never even had a conversation about any of this. It's just something that so this is kind of a big deal. Tina and I feel like we avoid the conversation. We avoided it a lot. Because, she was my first loss.
Yeah.
And it was her sister. And it's just not something you talk about at the family reunion.
No.
If we had those anymore.
I wish we did. Right? Yeah, it would be nice to.
And there are some people that ask for us not to invite, but
I'm playing Switzerland.
I know. It's complicated, but
yeah.
There's a picture of me in a yearbook, and I don't have the yearbook anymore, and I'm kind of glad. They were taking pictures at the Valentine's Day dance. I went to school the next day, and I was crying. I didn't want to go to school. Mama made me. It's crazy. My mom made me go to school when Katie died and when my dad died. I went to school the next day after my dad died.
Wow.
And I was all depressed in school. And both times, everybody's like, "What's wrong with you?" And like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "I don't know. My mom made me come."
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was different. My mom's a whole other conversation that we'll have one day.
Well, like, even with me, like after Katie passed, because right before she had passed away, because I was going to school at the community college, I was working part-time job, and I remember having a conversation with my mom and dad, and they talked about how Mom used up all of her leave and she didn't have any more leave to stay with Katie.
Which is crazy.
Right? Like, I was only like 18, 19, and I didn't understand it, but I was just like, that's crazy, and so on my own, I didn't even talk to my parents about it, but I went and dropped out of all of my classes at the community college.
Did they give you a pass for that?
I don't even know. I don't know. I just dropped all because the classes were, was it like a break or something? I can't remember.
That's how
when I did this. It might not have. It might have been between the fall and spring or whatever break. But yeah, I went and dropped all my classes. I quit my job, and I was going to go and stay at the hospital so my mom could go back to work. That's what the plan was, and they didn't know it until afterwards. They had no clue I was dropping my classes.
But you probably, like, I know when Mom all died, I dropped out of my college classes because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I don't handle death well anyways. I mean, you saw me at Pawpaw's funeral.
Yeah.
And during that time, like, so there was that picture of me at the dance crying. And I cried for, I don't know. I didn't know what else to do, and I was so upset because I begged Mama to take me to the funeral. She wouldn't let me, but I'm pretty sure Pawpaw had a tape of it.
Possibly, yeah.
And when I went back down to the beach, he let me watch the tape as many times as I wanted to. God.
Yeah. It was a good funeral. It really was. It was
beautiful.
Yeah. And she sang at her own funeral. Yeah. And you don't see that. But yeah.
The fact, my heart broke for Pawpaw really bad during that time. I mean, Katie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I'm really trying not to cry while I'm watching you doing this. And I'm like, in my head, suck it up, Kristina, suck it up.
But I mean, not just Mama and Papa, but
Yeah.
your other grandparents too. Like I feel like grandparents should never have to bury their children, but grandparents
Mm-hmm.
most definitely should never
Yeah.
ever have
Because
to
the expectation is they should die
live long.
before their grandchildren. Parents should die before their children, you know.
Poor grandma, like I feel bad for her because like Papa, Katie, Chris, Donna,
Yeah.
like she was watching. I mean,
She watched a lot of her children and grandchildren die.
and
Yeah.
her husband and her siblings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is so heartbreaking. But you know what? I wholeheartedly believe that they are having like the best party up in heaven,
Oh, for sure.
especially Papa
For
being up
sure.
there and Katie
Papa
not.
and Katie. Oh, Lord.
They're having a.
Hey, Katie's pranking everybody, and Papa's probably egging her on, saying, "Go do this."
Papa's encouraging it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
He often said that like when we got older, he said that one of his favorite things was whenever y'all would come down and then we'd be
Uh-huh.
there and watching us eat.
Oh yeah.
He loved
Dad's talked about that a lot too.
he loved watching us eat because he
Mm-hmm.
at after the Great Depression
Yeah.
they didn't have a lot of food,
Mm-mm.
but we'd be circling around that the fireplace, the brick platform,
Yep.
eating our food.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Yep.
time.
You know, I have when we were at the beach, the time I was telling you about with your daughter, when we went by the house to see the house and it was torn down.
That
Remember?
I was
I
so.
still have two pieces of the slabs from the fireplace. I have them in my front yard.
I think that was a day. Your dad was. He told me he was very afraid of what was going about to happen.
Oh, he was in the car. He was telling me, he's like, "Oh gosh, this is not going to be good." He was like, "Candice is going to be torn up about this." And he was worried for when you pulled up. He was like, "This is not going to be good."
Because he promised me to let me go in and get whatever I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
And I was how
We
mad
were all shocked.
how mad was I?
Oh, you were mad. You were furious.
I told Ronnie. I told him. They came down. They were like in Myrtle Beach or something, I think, and they came up,
Mm-hmm.
picked me up and took me out to lunch. And I told him I was like, that I will never get over.
Yeah.
Y'all could have waited.
Yeah. Because it was supposed to be like several weeks or a month or
Yeah,
whatever before, and something about the person that was tearing it down was able to do it sooner, and so they went ahead and did it, or something. I can't remember the exact story, but yeah, they came and did it early, and because Dad, we all thought that house was going to be still standing when we went over there.
I think that's why they had no problem with me keeping my stuff in the garage
Yeah.
when I moved out of the apartment. Like there was no question about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, go
Probably.
ahead if you can get in. I was like, oh, I can get in. I know every trick
Mm-hmm.
in the building. I can get in. Y'all, I was raised on them grounds. I was raised.
Oh goodness.
Oh gosh, let me just kick a camera. My child just fell off the bed.
Oh. I'm glad my dog isn't barking because he normally barks when I'm not giving him attention.
I know it's
Hi,
coming.
Charlotte.
Come on. I don't usually let you get on, but hold on. You know I was gonna name her Katie, right?
Yes. And then I was like, when you named her Charlotte, and I was like,
It didn't feel right.
yeah,
But because the names that I wanted to give her, it didn't go right.
yeah,
But if I have another daughter, do you want me to the name?
go for it.
It's two first names.
Okay.
Katie Rose.
Oh, I like that. Because wasn't the name going to be Katie Christine?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that what you were going to name her the first time? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
and it just didn't feel right with her. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh,
And she came out acting like a princess. Let me tell you, she's a Charlotte. She's
yeah.
a
Oh, goodness.
queen. Because I tell you what, she is Mama and Papa through and through. She's really Papa, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, like how Papa had that I don't give a shit attitude.
Mm-hmm. Very stubborn. Bullheaded.
Satan.
Lord, I feel sorry for you.
I feel sorry for myself every day, every single day. So my question. Oh, I had to get cookies. Go there, sit down. So in losing Katie,
Yes.
other things happened after, as far as family, right?
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
And it's interesting because I was trying to figure out when we spoke beforehand and you said you were going to put the two together. I was like, how is that going to like intertwine? And then I was thinking on my way here, I was like, I know. I know exactly how it intertwines. And it's when we were in the hospital. True story. When we were in the hospital with Katie, and it was either right before she passed. I'm pretty sure it was like right before she passed. There was a nurse. Again, I'm 18, 19. I was old enough to understand everything. And there was this nurse, and she made a comment, and I kind of just brushed it off. But she said that she was going to pray for my family for this loss. And she said, unfortunately, a lot of times when parents lose a child, unfortunately, there's a divorce that follows not far behind it.
There is.
And that's exactly what happened.
I forget what the rate is. I feel like it's like 85% of marriages dissolve after the loss of a child.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing for a couple to survive.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's my dad blamed himself. My mom blamed my dad for a while. My grandparents, mom's parents, they blamed my dad. And it was like, it would make me so mad because it's like, she passed out. Something like she passed out. It's not like we bumped her. Like she literally like passed out and fell. That could have happened at the hospital.
You know who they should blame?
Oh,
the hospital for letting her go.
Exactly.
When your parents, when I was told about your parents' divorce, I remember, and we were kind of talking about this before. I remember going to see you guys when we lived in Pennsylvania. And Kim was there, and they went shopping for us for Christmas, and we came to visit. And I was like, oh, maybe everything's gonna be okay because, a lot of people don't know this, but I spent a lot of time with y'all's family. Like,
yeah, you lived with us for a little bit. Well, at least with me and Dad.
Y'all were more than just my uncle, my aunt, my cousins. Like, I saw you three girls as the big sisters I always wanted because I was the oldest. I didn't have older siblings, and I wanted it so bad. And that's why I tailed behind you guys a lot because I looked up to you guys. And when I heard about their divorce, I said in that moment, little old me, I was a little thing. I wasn't even that. I was in middle school, I think. Still, I was like, I'm never getting married. If my Uncle Dennis and Kim can't, I don't want to get married.
Yeah.
And
because they were known as like that perfect couple.
Yeah.
Like in church, we were the Queen girls, the Queen family. We were like that perfect family. Like at Firestone, everybody thought of us as that perfect family. And like we were far from perfect, but that's what they thought. And
nobody is perfect. There's no such There's no such thing as perfect. As I've grown, and I mean, even me growing up with you guys, I didn't see the issues. You know what
I mean? We didn't see them either. We and there were, before everything happened with Katie, there were issues. I had no clue.
I had no idea either.
No clue, and I was around them all the time. Like they made sure that any arguments, and some of it was finding out later. Some of it was like stupid stuff, because me and Angela take after my mom with the not cleaning, and Dad the neat freak. So, like, there was little things like that, but we didn't even see those issues. Like, we never saw them argue about it. I don't ever remember seeing my parents argue or anything. They hid it well.
They did. I still call your mom my aunt.
Oh, she is.
She will forever be my aunt no matter what. That's
Oh,
my
yeah.
and then it was like watching my parents get divorced too, because your dad
Mm-hmm.
really stepped in for my dad,
Yeah.
all that stuff, which I will never talk about my dad on this podcast, like detail wise.
Mm-hmm.
There are three sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. And that's just where I
Yep.
stand. But your dad was really there for me, and even when my mom was in rehab, we lived with you guys, and you and Uncle Dennis went to Vegas, brought me back that CSI shirt. I held on to that shirt for so long. That thing was so small on me, and I was still rocking that thing with a tank top underneath it.
Oh, my
I was so
gosh.
excited about that. I was obsessed. Everybody thinks like the true crime thing with me is new. Tina, please tell these.
Oh, it is so, like, this child, since she, as far as I can remember, always swore she was going to do something with, like, CSI murder. She was going to be those crime scene investigators. Like, that was, we were talking about it beforehand. Like, that was like your biggest dream for the longest time.
And I was researching like the Manson murders when I was 15, like looking at crime scene photos. That stuff is
I
not.
never knew that until you said that in one of your earlier podcasts. I was like, what?
Yeah. The minute I discovered the internet, boy, I was on that internet investigating. I invested in some crimes. But
Oh, Lord.
that goes back to like being a voice for the voiceless.
Yeah.
Like whenever I do this thing, I might not do it with mom.
Yeah.
I need someone dependable that I can really like blow their minds, but not give them nightmares.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot.
You don't want me because, yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you guys made us watch. Oh gosh, Seinfeld.
Oh, that's Dad's show. I
I know.
never could get into. He would go and work out and watch it. And when he lived in Wisconsin, when I had moved up there with him, I stayed with him for a little bit. And in the basement, he had a workout station, put up a TV, and he would play his Seinfeld DVDs and work out. And I was like, how can, like, this is the dumbest show I've ever seen.
Didn't
But
he
you
see?
work out to it.
Did he see Jerry Seinfeld live? I feel like
I
he
don't
did.
know. He might have. He's seen a lot of comedians. I don't know. He might have, but I'm not
Comedians and
positive.
country artists.
Do what?
Comedians and country artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the divorce, did you and Angela feel divided at all?
No.
Oh.
No. We, I really think we handled it extremely well. It was hard at first just because it was so close to losing Katie, and then
That's trauma
like
on top of trauma.
yeah, because it was literally February 14th. Katie passes away, and then July 1st, June 1st, July 1st, whichever one of those was their anniversary. I can't remember. But Dad sat us down when we were at the pool in Winston-Salem at the apartment, and he had already gotten. Again, he hit it well because he had already had an apartment and was already living there before he told us. And I was living with Mom and Dad. He was waiting until I went to bed, and then he went to his place, and I had no clue. And it was probably a month before he told us. And so
I had
we
no
were blindsided. Oh, none of us, again, my parents were, I wished I could have been as secretive about everything, but we had no clue.
with your divorce and their divorce.
Say what?
The circumstances were very different. I think they were
Oh,
also
yeah.
you guys because you had just lost your baby sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they were definitely protecting you guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Angela was off at college. She was traveling. I was the one that was kind of
in the middle
because I was there. So and when it happened, there was a short little part where I started showing out. Mom had actually, because I've always had an attitude, but only to my mama.
You ain't doing that at dentist.
Oh no. But Dad and I were always super close. So even if we got mad an hour later, you would have never thought we were mad at each other. But with Mom, when everything happened, there was a short span where I started being a little mean to my mom. And she actually had grabbed my hair, pulled it, slapped me. And she was
Not
like, "You're not."
him.
Yes. And she was like, "You are not going to talk to me like that ever again." And I was like, and she told me, she said, "You can get out." She said, "Go move in with your dad." So I moved in with Dad. I slept on his couch. It was only a short period of time. Cause my mom was dealing with a lot too. And the last thing she needed was her teenage daughter being disrespectful to her. Cause that's what I was. I treated my mom horribly.
But that's to be expected. Honestly, like she shouldn't have been shocked by the behavior.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's to be expected.
Yeah. Cause a lot had happened, And so, but yeah, I moved out and then everything was fine. But then I moved to Maryland with Dad.
And then
I started following him around. Do what?
then along came us.
Yeah.
Can
And
we
then
can we segue into that?
about how y'all were brats.
No, not just because Mom already talked about it on her episode with me.
Mm-hmm.
Hard eye roll. I love her. Don't get it wrong. I I love my mama.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We've always had a really hard relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of come and gone, good and bad.
But so during that time when y'all showed up, y'all don't know this, but like she was bad off on drugs.
Oh yeah.
And when she was coming down, she was beating the shit out of me
Let's see, I didn't know that.
because I didn't tell nobody. I
Yeah.
was her downstairs. I had a concussion once from where she got mad, stormed off, and hit that door to her room by the stairs. That
Mm-hmm.
wood door, she hit it and it knocked me in the head. And honestly, because of Katie, I was scared, and she left me. And you know, and I'm still the one who was making a call because she took an entire bottle of 90 Xanaxes. I was the one who told you guys what was going on.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember showing up and y'all were like, because originally we were going to surprise y'all. We were just going to show up and then we show up and we're like,
do you remember what I said when I opened the door?
no,
I opened the door and I said,
I don't think I do.
you guys, because
Mm.
I called her dealer and gave him Mama and Papa's number to tell them what had happened. Because I didn't know what to do because I was scared to call 911 because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have gotten in trouble.
By
You
my
did. You weren't doing anything.
by my mother.
Mm.
You got to remember what I was going through during that time. And
Yeah.
I was so scared. And there's different levels of trauma, but the trauma of watching your parent being carted out on a stretcher
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
having to rush to pack what you could
Yeah.
and essentially removed from the home.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were split up.
Yep.
And despite everything, I loved my mom.
Oh yeah.
I cried like almost every night. Especially that first like month was so hard for me.
Yeah.
I had one friend in that school. And a lot of expectations were put upon me during that time, academically.
Oh
I was
yeah.
in pretty hard classes. Do you remember the science class I was put into?
Uh-uh.
I was in honors biology and we were learning like DNA sequencing.
Hmm.
When I started, he had me fill out this questionnaire and he was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And why do you, and all that stuff. And I put a crime scene investigator. And that's when I
Yeah.
started doing DNA sequencing. And I was doing like DNA tests and stuff in that science class. I loved that. I loved that class so
Oh
much.
yeah.
That was like my favorite day to go to school. And then, oh my gosh, we're not gonna talk about how I fell,
Oh my gosh.
but
Oh
the
yeah,
famous
because there's two
fall.
stories. There's the truth and what y'all told me. until we got to the emergency room, and then y'all told me the truth.
I hit the filing cabinet, and I
Mm-hmm.
walked up to Erica and said, I hit my head. And she looked, I'll never forget her face. Her eyes got so big. I see your skull. And like half my eyebrow was hanging down.
Your
And
sister called me and was like, Tina, there's blood all over the house. Candice, and I'm like, I'm over here working. I'm like, what?
it didn't even bleed.
She told me that there was blood all over the house.
Erica's dramatic. No.
I was like, what? And then when I get there, I'm like,
my head was wrapped up.
yes.
And like, let me see it. And then I'll never forget when we're on the way to the hospital, you call your dad.
Uh-huh.
And
because he was like 2-3 hours away heading back to North Carolina.
No, he wasn't 2-3
or somewhere.
Hours. He was
1 hour?
Mm-hmm. He wasn't that far. He says, well, put some sap on it. You said, Dad, you can't put sap on this. But
no.
And this ties back to Katie also, because kind of explained what was going on.
Yeah.
When they had me laid down and they were putting the shots into my face, and your dad was holding my hand and I was crying. He started crying too.
Yeah.
Explain to me why.
Oh, God.
Because it made him think about Katie.
Yeah. That was also, because at work, I don't know if you remember this, but at work, again, this was just at a gym, at a daycare in a gym. Nothing super big and important. But she had a team meeting at the end of that shift, and I had to leave. And she goes, well, our team meeting is at 8:00 or whatever. And I was like, I have to take my cousin to the emergency room. My dad's not here. Nobody's here. I have to take her. I don't know if I'm going to make it back. And she threatened that I was going to lose my job if I wasn't back for this stupid little meeting. And I was just like, so I was prepared to lose my job and like whatever, because I'm like, I'm not going to rush back. To what?
Was it like a flashback?
From Katie?
Yeah.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it being a flashback.
I know for him it was, because when he was holding my hand and I had those tears in my eyes when they were like shooting those shots, and I looked up at him and he had tears coming down.
Yeah.
That shit hurt.
Oh, I bet.
I had 16 stitches in. I'm going to go in. Can you see? 16
I was going to say, I feel like I can still see something right there. Yeah.
And 16 out. And I remember I had the black eye. And I went to school the next day, and like, what happened? I said, I fell, I tripped, and I fell. Which is not, it's not wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. I have a great, now. But the girl said, this girl that sat behind me, she was so nice. I don't know her name. I never knew her name. But she was so friendly to me. Like, she loved my accent. They all love my accent. She's like, you better tell somebody you beat a bitch's ass and tell them that they should see the other girl. And I was like, that's not me. If you look at me, like, for real, during that time, am I going to be fighting anybody?
No.
I was so I am so different.
You're more now.
I am now.
Yeah.
I'm shit now.
See, and I feel like when I was younger, I would have been more out to fight somebody when I was younger, because I was very protective over Katie. I remember several situations where, like, there was a boy that lived behind us, and he would always talk smack to Katie, and I came out there, like, yelling at him. There was some girl another day, there was a girl that was walking through the neighborhood, and she was saying some not so nice things to Katie and with Mom, and I was about ready to fight. Like, when I was younger, I would have fought in a heartbeat for Katie, 100%.
If she were still here, I think I would drag somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Me now, I would drag. Even now, like, even if they were to say anything about her pictures or whatever, I would drag them.
But, I mean, and, like, oh, yeah, they are. And, like, I'm the least confrontational person. I hate confrontation. I would rather just walk away, but in certain situations. And we could talk about this another time, but the only time I have been 100% ready to fight, like I will go to jail tonight, is with the boy's dad. That's the only person that I was
That's
like,
understandable.
and
I
I
know.
would have fought in a heartbeat.
I'll help you.
He knows better than them to come and see me now. So.
Well, I don't mind driving.
I'll let you know.
I got you.
Oh goodness.
I have really like I'm still that kind, compassionate, empathetic person, which is why I started this podcast to give the voiceless a voice.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be so serious. Like I got some coming up, but I think all in all, I've done a complete 180 with myself, personality, and I don't even know what it is. Like I even stand up to dieta.
That's good. That's
Like
good. And that sometimes it's hard to stand up to your own parent.
I mean, my siblings too. Like Erica and I,
Oh yeah.
we're doing better.
Good.
We time. It's mostly about the kids. I refuse to talk about family stuff.
Yeah. It's one step at a time.
I'm the other one. I love them.
Yeah.
But I rather love them from hours away from me, away from them. I can't be around them.
Yeah.
But also now I work for a veteran, Army veteran, like war veteran.
Oh, nice.
And a bunch of men. And I think that's giving me some thick skin. My ex, one day I'll talk about it. I've only told one person a lot that had happened.
Yeah.
But I've learned to stand my ground. I'm definitely not the little girl that I used to be.
Yeah. When certain, like, you have to sometimes be in those kinds of situations to become stronger.
Yeah.
Because that's the same with, like, the boy's dad. I am not the same person I was when I was with him. I am so far from what I used to be.
And you've come so far. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oops.
Girl, I don't even think I don't even know if I've told you everything that's happened.
I know some.
Because I know because there's been a lot of him.
I know Mama knows. Because you and Mama were always close.
We were always close. Like, she was like my favorite aunt.
I think she just had her downfall period.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people she's going through a midlife crisis right now. That she's 55 and a grandma.
Look, I'm 41 and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to be a grandmother. But I got a
My baby just entering first grade, and she's sitting there walking around with a balloon in her shirt. And her godfather was here. Oh, her godfather. I said grandfather. Her godfather that's in the Marine Corps. His wife who's in the Marine Corps and pregnant. And he goes, absolutely not. Not until you're 25. I said, 25?
I was 25.
I was 28. I said, it's degrees before dates.
I like it.
Books before boys and degrees before dates.
Yep. That's what, I tell my boys all the time, because they know that I got pregnant with them before I was married, before anything. And I was like, y'all need to make sure you have a job, and I told them, I was like, because with Aiden having autism, I was like, college may not be for you. He wants to be a blacksmith. That's right down his alley. And I'm like, at least take some classes in college, something. And I was like, but get you a good job. And then if you want to find you a lady, get married, and then have you some babies, and it's like, just take your time. Don't rush into it, because I did. And you see where it took me. So it happens.
And literally, it took one time.
No, it didn't take much for mine either.
That's like, listen, Paw had like 13 siblings, okay?
Yeah.
We out here and Grandma, she had 5 kids. We out here raising some fertile myrtles. You're going on birth control.
Oh, gosh, that's funny. Look, people tell me that I spoke mine into existence, because I always said I wanted to be married and have at least one child by the time I was 25. And I got pregnant in January of 2007. I turned 25 that same year, October 9th, and I had Aiden when I was October 26th, and I got married that same year in August. I got married and I was 7 months pregnant. I was married and had my kid by 25.
Hey, back on that Katie thing, did you ever go up in my room at the house?
Did I what?
Did you ever go up in my room in the house when y'all was up?
I think I went into all of y'all's rooms, but I don't remember much because so much was happening.
I painted a Katie memorial on my wall.
I don't think I ever remember seeing, but I don't remember anything fully other than the big things, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, sorry, that.
Well, at Firestone they painted a mural, and now they painted over it, and it's a choir room. But they had a painting after Katie passed away, and the artist. Funny story. The artist that painted it knew nothing about Katie, and she painted the picture, the mural. I can't speak, but there's a little girl in the painting, and it looked like Katie, and she had no idea about Katie.
I remember y'all telling me about that.
Yeah. But now it's painted over, and like I said, it's the choir room.
Wasn't it your ex's brother that I had a crush on?
Yeah, that's the boy's dad. Their Uncle Alex. Everybody had a crush on him. Well, there's that. Now, are you talking about him, or because my cousin Jenny's brother?
No, it's the one
Matt.
with the
Everybody had crushes on him too.
It's the pastor's son.
Okay, so yeah, then that was Alex. You had a crush on.
Oh, he was so fine. I don't know if he is now. I know he had.
He's not bad looking now. He went into the military. He was in Afghanistan for a couple years. Never saying for military guys. But yeah, he ended up getting married, and then they divorced, and now he's married to somebody else. But yeah,
not more. No, maybe. Oh my god, this chair can't fit us both. Now, listen, I'm gonna get myself in trouble saying this. Now it's former military. Let me stop. I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble.
Oh goodness.
So what?
Listen, dating as a mom.
It's hard.
No, it's easy.
It is not easy.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I do not. Who's my boyfriend? No, don't.
Don't ask her a question you don't want her to answer, Candice. Look, my boys, for the longest time when I was trying to date, they told me they didn't want me to. They wanted me to be single.
Then.
And I was like, I don't want to.
Huh? What are you talking about? No, go ahead and say what you gotta say. I was kissing somebody? Who was I kissing?
Charlotte, we're going to have a conversation after this.
Who was I kissing?
The boy who comes.
Keep talking, Charlotte. Keep talking.
No, don't.
Oh.
Go away.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I can't wait to send this text message. Oh god.
What are you doing?
Oh, that's great.
I do not have a boyfriend. That's not my. No. I'm turning the microphone off.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, of course.
Mom.
You opened up a can of worms now, Candice.
Don't say no more.
Well, my boys would telling me all the time.
Yeah.
There was one time I got pulled over and I got a ticket. And I wasn't telling nobody. I was just going to go fix it and move on. And then Dad had kept the boys for something. And I ended up taking them somewhere. And he goes, so tell me about this ticket that you got. And I was like, seriously? And my boys are teenagers. This was like less than a year ago. And I'm like, really? What happens here? Shut your mouth.
Watch my mouth around her.
Oh, I bet. She's your child. 100% your child.
I was not a
No,
snitch. I was not a
no,
snitch.
no,
I
not.
still hold secrets.
You did hold secrets. You did. But something that just popped in my head. Do you remember talking about when dating? But I wasn't a mom then. But do you remember
In Maryland.
in Maryland where the guy that lived a couple of stories
Yep.
above and he came and got my number?
Yep.
And y'all covered for me. Y'all were like, "Oh, she's in the shower." I just didn't want to go to the door. And then the one time I called him, and I actually liked him, and like we had locked
He was
eyes a
hot.
couple of times. He was, and I remember he called me, and y'all were over here just giggling and messing with me, and I'm like, I'm on this phone. We never went on a date. I blame
Go.
you and Erica for me not having a date with that guy.
Okay, go.
But he worked for the shoot, what was it? National Security or something.
NSA.
He had like a good job. Thank you.
You wouldn't have the boys if it weren't for us.
That's true. That's
Hot
true.
box, you wouldn't have the boys.
Oh Lord.
One taught me how to flip my hair for school, and you'd always
Hmm.
got me on to put perfume on before I left the house.
I remember cutting your hair, coloring your hair,
Yep.
and y'all would steal all of my makeup, and I'd look for some of my makeup, and it would be gone because y'all have used it.
That was the other one. I got the pictures to prove it.
Oh Lord. But what I also remember, because I like today, yesterday and today, I was doing a lot of thinking, and I was thinking a lot about you, and I was like, I remember when y'all were living with Dad and I. I don't know if you remember, but Dad had the convertible.
Yeah.
We had the Jeep, and I remember you wanted me to come and pick you up in the convertible at the top down. And that same time, you were like, "Hey, can I use your phone?" And you were sitting in the convertible pretending like you were talking in the phone so you would look cool. And then you had me pick you up at the Jeep. Like you wanted me to come pick you up at all these cool cars.
Because I have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was like a life of luxury to me.
Yeah. It was funny. I was just laughing. I was like,
Remember when your dad, I almost said dad. Remember when, because I did call him that a couple times.
oh yeah, my kids do.
Remember when we were going to CC's Pizza and we ended up in the hood of Washington, D.C.? We were
I
going to.
don't, I don't remember that, but I do remember we were going to DC and Dad got lost and he just kept saying, "Oh, we're taking the
No,
scenic route. I'm just showing you around DC."
we were going to see, it was at nighttime.
It
Yeah.
might have been at nighttime.
And we were going to CC's Pizza and we ended up in D.C. That's what it was. Because he was the most CC's Pizza person I've ever met in my entire life because it was a buffet.
Because it was cheap. It was cheap. Sorry. It was a quality item at an inexpensive price. That's what he told us. It's
And he was
never cheap.
scared. I was scared. And he's in here rolling back windows. I said, "Don't do that." And I
Yeah.
was like lunch. I slid down in the seat. Nobody see me in the back seat. So like if they shot at us, they just because we were in a convertible.
Yeah.
I didn't want people thinking that we were rich.
It's funny because Dad and I now, because when we lived in Wisconsin, we lived in, like, where Dad lived, he could walk to, like, the central office for the school. And, like, literally just a few blocks down was where it got into, like, the major hood. And if I went to Walmart right at first, Dad was like, "You need to call me when you get there. Call me when you get into the Walmart. Call me when you get out, when you're on your way home." And now it's like anywhere I go, and people, if I'm with somebody, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is like, you sure you're going to stop here?" And I'm like, "This ain't nothing."
Listen, where Mama lives, there was this one night I went to Walmart. It was late. And it's when I started planning for the podcast, so I got my laptop. No, I'm okay. Thank you for offering me some ice, but I'm okay. So I went to Walmart and I'm going out. I bought some workout clothes too and just put myself in a car and I hear, "Pull your gun, bitch. pull your gun. I said, oh, do not pull your gun. And I'm sitting here, by that point, I'm throwing my shit in the car, just throwing it. And I hear, and I look over and I hear her keep going, pull your gun, bitch, pull your gun. I'm like,
your mama?
No.
Oh.
I was by myself.
Oh, I was about to say, okay.
Where my mom lives, I was by myself.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like Charlotte's age, I said, do not pull your gun. I do not want to be a victim or a witness. Witnesses become victims.
Oh, gosh.
And then I'm driving home, and I stop at a red light, and I see somebody tweaking on something, fighting the air. And I was like, I'm about to run this red light. I don't care. And then there was another day I went to turn around, and 3 hookers started walking into my car. Not today. Not today.
When I lived in Charlotte before I moved to Gastonia, so this was, I moved back to Gastonia from Charlotte 2018, and there was a little boy that lived with us for a short period of time because his mom had gotten a new job, and long story, it went from me just taking him to school in the morning to taking him to school in the morning, taking him home, then taking him to my place, and then he ended up living with us. And one morning, on our way to school, because I worked at the school that they were at, there was like a traffic jam on this road, and we were like bumper to bumper, and this car pulled up, and this was close to maybe about the time that the riots were happening, but not like, it was either like the tail end of it or right at the beginning. It might have been more towards the tail end. Huh?
It's because it was at the beginning, because that's when COVID started too.
Yeah. So I was stuck there, and the guy was wanting to turn in. There was a neighborhood to the right, and the guy was wanting to turn in, and he was wanting to turn in between me and the other car. And he was like throwing his hand out, and you could just see him like yelling in his car. Well, he ended up getting out of the car, and he started walking. He was looking straight at me, and I had Aiden and Zach, and I had Jahari, and so all 3 of the boys are in the back. And I'm like, oh my God, this man's coming up. He's cussing at me, like he's angry. And I got my kids in this back seat, and he's wanting me to move. I couldn't back up. I couldn't move forward. We were literally bumper to bumper. I could not move. Yeah. And he kept coming. And I swear to you, I told Jahari's mom, I said, I swear to you, your son basically probably just saved my life. I said, because that man was coming right for me. And Jahari was sitting in the middle. And so it was like he could see Jahari. And I told her, I said, I swear this man saw that I had a black kid in my car and thought, okay, I'm going to leave her alone. I said, I swear, because that's how it happened. I was like, I swear he saw your son, and was like, all right, cool, never mind. He got back in his car and drove off. I said, that I swear to you, that boy saved her.
Be in the back of your Honda, and I'm sitting there like, you should not be smoking. Smoking is bad for you. And the man came up and knocked. Come on, what?
You know, Aiden does that. He does that. He went up to a guy when we were at Carowinds one time. The man was sitting towards the entrance, and he's just smoking. And Aiden walked off, and I was like, Aiden, like, come here. He just kept walking. He went up to the man. He goes, do you know that smoking is bad for you? You can get cancer. You should stop smoking. And he just kept talking. I was like, Aiden, I said, come on. And I looked at the man. I said, I'm so sorry. I was like, he was like, nah, you're fine. The girl seemed pissed off, but he was kind of like cool about it. But I was like, he will tell anybody, you shouldn't drink and you shouldn't smoke.
Tell him what happened to me. We were like skirting out there.
Oh, Lord.
Even past all the heartbreak and sadness, even at like the wakes and the funerals, for the most part, you and I, we always had like good conversations and like lighten it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I remember sitting laughing at Grandma's funeral. Like
burial that it hit me and I just broke down.
Yeah. Well, that was hard because it happened quickly, but it didn't. It was almost like when she was fine, like she was falling, and that's when she moved in with Dad for a little bit. And I guess Dad and Ronnie and Grandma had talked about it and was going to put her in the nursing home, so they found one that she liked.
Yeah.
And I swear, as soon as she went in there, she just started drastically changing, and then like that part happened super quick.
The crazy thing is like the night after we went and visited her, it's like she had her closure. She finally got to see.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
that's exactly what it was.
And she was able to let go.
Yep. She saw everybody she wanted to.
We walked in and she's like, my babies. And with her, and we hugged her and we talked to her, and I played with her arms again. Remember I used to play with her arm? Yeah. And her earlobes. Yeah. Play with her a bit. And it's funny, we were, oh gosh, I can't remember who I was telling this to, but we were talking about the baby brother of mine and how he gave that poor woman, he gave her hell. She locked, no, the boys locked her out the house because they were tired of watching Fox News once.
Oh gosh.
And then he stole Papa's bowling ball and broke into the surf shop, robbed them of their loose change and a life jacket. He was a little thing, life jacket, because he got mad because Grandma wouldn't change the TV. He was tired.
Oh gosh.
The News, Walker Texas Ranger, Wheel of Fortune, and there was something else.
See, I remember I always liked it when Grandma had control of the TV. Because when every time I remember her having control, we watched the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
That is what I remember the news being more Pawpaw, like, Pawpaw's watching the news, you know, and it was like,
something.
Yeah.
Pawpaw would say, Pawpaw, with him, he wouldn't stop. Like, he didn't care how old he was. He's going to keep going.
Yep.
And then I remember, like, going out to the garden with him and picking all those vegetables. That was like some cheap labor.
Oh, I was talking, you know, because I was talking to the boys because, you know, I used to eat fish. Well, then I stopped. I don't eat fish or pork. And I was like, you know what? Y'all might not believe this, but when I was younger, we would go catch our fish and then we were descaling that fish. Like I was like, oh yeah, like just.
That's when I left. I was not with it. I walked away. I was done. I remember going to the beach and I was out there with your dad and Katie. He was like on the boogie board float thing, and he was holding on. And it started getting rough. And Uncle Dennis and Katie left me. And Katie's like, Dad, Candice is back there. And I was sitting there trying to catch up to them because he was leaving.
He used to take us out there. And he would take us out as deep as he could. And I used to get so scared. And I remember one time he took me out there and the little donut thing. And I was like, Dad, I swear something just touched my foot. I don't know what. It could have been a fish. But in my head, it was a shark. And I was like, get me out of this water.
You know what's funny now? I won't go into the ocean water.
Oh, I will go to like my knees. Maybe a little past my knees. That I won't go any deeper.
Nope.
And I don't want my kids to go any deeper because I'm like, y'all were teenagers. I still don't want y'all going that deep.
We didn't have what we had back then. Rip warnings and all that stuff. Now, honey, we ain't been to the beach yet. I will find us a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, my boys, when we went to the beach.
No, I'm okay.
Well, we went last year because we stayed with Erica when you came over. So we were staying with Erica about a year ago. Girl, don't you tell me you forgot that you came over and we were talking. Oh, Erica, no. You remember? Okay.
In the brick house?
Yeah. Yes. So when we were there, I asked the boys, I said, y'all want to go to the beach? Nope. And then a few years before that, we stayed at a hotel on the beachfront. They wanted to stay in the pool. They won't go to the beach.
Nope.
I'm like, that's fine. We can hang out. We can go to the water or go to the pool. That's perfectly fine. Less I have to worry about.
Well, Tina, this has been really good.
It was. I'm proud of myself. I don't think I really cried, not once. And normally I do when I talk about Katie.
I cannot relate because it's something I don't really talk to about.
Yeah.
Because they just don't understand how close we really were. Yeah. That was buddy. That was my very first best. Yeah. Peas in a pod.
Yep. She was a good friend too.
Huh?
She was a good friend too. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly contribute my heart to her.
Yeah.
Because I think she really taught me how to be a good person.
Yeah. Girl, we could sit here for hours and talk about all the stuff Katie. A lot of good, funny stuff. Gosh, even just at the hospital. So many pranks she did on the nurses.
Oh, and another thing was NSYNC. That was another thing. Me and her loved some NSYNC.
So did I. I was the one that got Katie into NSYNC.
And then y'all, that's where I got it from. But trying to figure out where it was. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Katie who got me into NSYNC.
Because I liked NSYNC, and then, because I don't know if you remember my cousin Jenny, my Aunt Penny's daughter. She and I would go to all the NSYNC concerts every time they came to Charlotte. We were always there. And then I got Katie into NSYNC. And
didn't she?
She went. Dad took her to one NSYNC concert, and I don't know if it was just them two or if somebody else went with them.
I think it was just them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, he took her to one NSYNC concert.
I'm so glad.
And he still talks about it sometimes, about when he took her. He remembers that, but he doesn't remember when he took me, Jenny, and somebody else to an NSYNC concert.
Well,
but that's all right. That's all right.
I was jealous that y'all got to go to Disney World.
That's only because we knew somebody.
He didn't tell me that. He'd be omitting information.
Oh yeah, John and Janet. He was a cop. Dad and John were cops together in Central, and then they moved to Florida, and they lived about maybe like an hour out of. They lived in like Melbourne, Florida, not too far from Orlando. So we would stay with them and then go to Disney World.
Your dad had the most jobs.
My fiance, when we started dating, he looked at Dad's Facebook and he was like, "Your dad's intimidating," because of all like his whole list of all his jobs, like police officer, DSS, like everything.
He got his full resume up there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's like half of his Facebook page is just all his things that he did. Restaurant cook, everything. Dog catcher, like everything. It was crazy.
Who is it that does that stuff? What character? He's like Inspector Gadget.
Oh Lord.
DSS worker.
He did so much. So much. He was a professor at a community college. Did you know that?
When?
When it was either when it might have been after she had Angela, and Mom went to a community college over towards Central, and he was her teacher. Yeah.
I'm not saying.
No, I won't say it because I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. But I cracked a good joke the other weekend with him. I won't say it on here.
Hey, I was thinking it. Well, I think she got disconnected. So we will cut it off here. This is Love, Lies, and Dead Roses. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And as always, I will see you next Wednesday.